This is Ajax, the British Army's new armoured platform, and it's been shown running to the public for the first time this year at Tankfest. It has been a long time coming and has had a well-documented and troubled procurement. In this film, we look at its capabilities and hear from those who will have to operate it. But first, let's see what the British public think. And we're just going to ask, as one of those, a bit of a popular opinion, what do you know and what do you think? What's your perception of Ajax?
I think it's something that hasn't really worked.
It's not as impressive as I thought it would be, replacing a job that could have done.
It's just a dressed up Warrior, isn't it? I think it's just everything that the Warrior should have had done to it, and I'll never get a chance to drive one, which is a bit sad.
This tank chat's going to be about the Ajax family of vehicles. We've got one here at Tankfest this year, but it's really a work in progress. So let's take a look at the Ajax story so far.
This video has been made possible by our supporters on Patreon, our YouTube members, and our Super Thanks donors. Please join them if you can, and support the Tank Museum. And thanks for watching.
The Ajax family is really there for reconnaissance. The Army has always had a need for reconnaissance. Reconnaissance, or recce, is a term often used by the military, but it's had many different interpretations over time. In general, a good definition is the gathering of information on the enemy's forces, or relevant knowledge such as the terrain in a given area. How that information is obtained, distributed, and acted on has inevitably changed over time. For many, the classic role of reconnaissance was carried out by the horse cavalryman. For centuries, cavalry could maneuver across the terrain quicker than a foot soldier, and in turn they could be used to counter enemy reconnaissance units and guard flanks or moving bodies of troops. The Second World War saw a debate begin which circulates back around on what role and what equipment should a recce unit have. Should the reconnaissance be by stealth, a small, quiet vehicle such as a dingo, only armed for self-defense, creeping up on the enemy, reporting the information and then speeding away if detected, to allow others to more suitably attack the enemy by air, artillery, or with heavier formations? Or should recce be by force, kicking the anthill, as it's sometimes called, where heavier armed vehicles attack a position to force the enemy to reveal themselves, their strength, etc. In the Second World War, we used at one time the 30-ton Cromwell tank in such a role. Over time, air assets such as helicopters became integrated into armoured units, and now we have satellites and drones covering the battlefield. New methods of detecting enemy formations by sound, radar, or thermal imaging have appeared. But for many countries, there's still an expectation that a soldier in a vehicle will view the enemy and gather the information themselves to report back. The Ajax has its origins in the Future Rapid Effects System, or FRES program, that dates back to the 1990s. FRES was to find a replacement for the CVRT family of vehicles. However, the National Audit Office says prolonged indecision about the exact requirements and a complex procurement strategy has delayed this progress. Ajax is costing £5.5 billion and is the biggest single order for a UK armoured vehicle in more than 20 years. General Dynamics UK won the contract in March 2010 after years of competition with BAE Systems. After the Ministry of Defence had selected the ASCOD 2 Common Base platform, it awarded General Dynamics a £500 million demonstration phase contract. The vehicles are assembled at a prime contractor's site in Merthyr Tydfil in Wales. Ajax is a name given to the overall Army's armoured cavalry programme, which includes a number of variants. A family of 6 vehicles overall based on one common platform. The Army says it will be the first fully digitised platform with advanced sensors and communication systems to gather and share information in real time with other units. In all, the Army is buying 589 vehicles across 6 variants, which include reconnaissance, the Ajax vehicle, a personnel carrier called Ares, command and control, that's Athena, engineer, Argus, and a recovery and a repair vehicle, Atlas and Apollo. Ajax is part of a wider re-equipment programme. The Army's Future Soldier Plan envisages Ajax as a core component of the Army's future modernised warfighting division. This warfighting division will be built around a digitally networked combination of Ajax, Boxer infantry vehicles and Challenger 3 tanks, along with AH-64E Apache helicopters and long-range precision fires and uncrewed aerial systems such as drones. The vehicle's entry into service has been repeatedly delayed, and the Ministry of Defence management of the programme criticised by the National Audit Office, the Defence Select Committee and the Public Accounts Committee. In March 2023, the Minister of Defence Procurement announced a new in-service date of 2025, with full operating capability expected between late 2028 and 2029. Why the vehicle has been delayed so long has been the subject to a number of reports and inquiries. Reasons have included issues with the management of the programme and the emergence of excessive noise and vibration, leading to concerns for health of personnel operating the vehicles. In 2021, the Commons Defence Committee described the history of the British Army's armoured fighting vehicle capability as deplorable. In 2022, the Public Accounts Committee judged that the MOD's management of the Ajax programme was flawed from the outset. Discussing Ajax with the committee in January 2023, Lieutenant General Naismith, the Deputy Chief of the General Staff, acknowledged that the Army had overcomplicated our requirement for Ajax, with hundreds of key user requirements, some of which changed during the life of the project. Meanwhile, the Army is intending to use the Warrior, the infantry fighting vehicle, as an interim reconnaissance vehicle until Ajax comes into service. The Army had been planning to upgrade Warrior to enable it to remain in service until 2040. However, in 2021, the MOD scrapped the planned upgrade with a view to retiring Warrior from 2025. The new Boxer vehicle will replace Warrior as the Army's primary mechanised infantry vehicle. Lieutenant General Naismith, the Deputy Chief of the Defence Staff, told the Defence Committee in January 2023 that the MOD had decided to extend Warrior as a surrogate platform for Ajax. So you can see this is not a happy story. But let's see what those now trialling the Ajax vehicle have to say. So we thought we'd ask some of those who are actually using Ajax for the first time what their opinions are. So we're here at Bulford with members of the Household Cavalry Regiment. Let's hear their opinions. Armour's back in business, isn't it, in a big way?
Absolutely in a big way, and I think we can see that from the current wars going on.
Are you confident this is the right bit of kit for the Army that we need now?
Yes, absolutely, because we are, with this decade of modernisation, we are looking at the digitised nature of the battlefield, the way that the war is changing, and we need to be able to compete in that. And if we can't compete in that, then we can't turn up. It has had a troubled past, but we have tried to do something which hasn't been done previously, in the fact that we're trialling it, we are developing it, we are testing it. So it is a very significant programme which is deeply complex. It is not unrealistic that it will come across a few issues. But the guys have got the platform now, as you have heard. They are the future, and they are making this work. It is a brilliant platform, and they are genuinely impressed by it. There is absolutely no looking back now, and we need to ensure that this tempo that we have developed continues.
Can you give us a comparison with Ajax? Because obviously most of us, we only seen it in images. You've had the advantage of being able to crawl all over it, you've driven it, you've been on trials with it. Tell us what you notice about Ajax compared to some of the other vehicles you've served on.
So from CVRT to Ajax is night and day. So with your CVRT, you've got all your pull-push controls, your gauges. You get onto Ajax, it's all computerized. You've got all your cameras that face all around it. It's just really is night and day.
So do you find this one easier vehicle to drive?
Yeah, so this one's fully automatic, so you're never going to get a false neutral or kick in the back of your head from your commander when you go from second to third and launch them out the top of it. But yeah, it's just for such a large vehicle, it really does feel as light as the CVRT.
What's your general impression of this vehicle? What are you getting from it?
That is living up to what it should be. You've heard the stories in the newspaper, you've had the delays and the rumours around it, but now getting hands-on, you can finally see that the capabilities that were promised are there, and there's just no way you could go backwards, even to Warrior. It's so much far ahead of that vehicle.
So one of the things that you first notice about Ajax when you see it in the flesh is its scale. This is a big vehicle. And of course, for those of us who remember vehicles like the Dingo in World War II, the Ferret, even CVRT, this is a very different type of vehicle, even though some of those roles are the same. But one of the things I think when you pick up is the capabilities, what Ajax brings now, is very different from what you could have done in CVRT or earlier with things like a Ferret or, as I mentioned, a Dingo that way. The fightability of this vehicle, 40mm cannon, that is quite a bit of firepower. Levels of protection on this vehicle, and of course, these new detectors and defensive aid suites that bring something that just wasn't there in the previous generation. And one thing being here at Bulford today, looking at not just Ajax, but we've got other variants here, but the way the crews are describing these vehicles, of course, that again brings another part of the story. How are the soldiers going to use the technology they've got here? And also their enthusiasm for this new vehicle, as opposed to perhaps what we've picked up about the vehicle from the media over the last decade. The Ajax currently weighs 38 tonnes and has a growth potential up to 42 tonnes. The armour protection levels are, understandably, still classified, as are some of the sensors and defensive measures carried. The vehicle is powered by an MTU V8 diesel, creating around 800 horsepower, and with a 6-speed automatic gearbox on a torsion bar suspension system, this is a surprisingly fast and agile vehicle, about 70 kilometres an hour or 43 miles an hour on the open roads. Ajax is the first British vehicle to be fitted with the jointly developed Case Telescopic 40mm cannon, or the CT-40 cannon. It will have a coaxially mounted 7.62 L94 chain gun with a dual-axis stabilised two-man turret. It can fire on the move and at speed. Cased telescopic ammunition differs from the conventional ammunition as the projectile is telescoped inside the cartridge case, surrounded by a propellant, saving space and proving greater lethality.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So we managed to live fire it out in Sweden, and yeah, it was accurate. It was performed really well. It was very easy to use. For someone of my generation, it's pretty much kind of tailored for the younger people playing PlayStations and consoles.
Do you feel a bit of a privilege? You're the first guys in the army to get Ajax?
Yeah, I'd say not only me, but us as the Household Cavalry Regiment, it is a real privilege to be able to work with these vehicles straight off the bat, and really trial and find out how we can best use them, kind of in the deep ahead of the rest of the army.
There are 4 different types of ammunition for the cannon. Armour-piercing rounds for the armoured targets such as tanks, airburst round for multiple light targets such as soldiers and vehicles, point detonating rounds for hardened targets, and aerial airburst round for drones, helicopters and light aircraft. Ajax will deliver a step change in the surveillance capability of the army, or so the brochures say. An MOD minister has also said that its open digital architecture means Ajax can integrate new systems and evolve to meet the emerging threats. Initially, Ajax will be equipped with the latest version of the Army's existing Bowman tactical communication system, and once in service, Ajax will be upgraded with a new Morpheus system.
So as commander on an Ajax, you are essentially that, you are that sensory system to the wider battle group brigade. So you will be orchestrating where your driver's going, what he's doing, and sort of controlling and orchestrating your gunner as well. But you're also leaning on them as sensory systems themselves. So you just collect all that information, and then the vehicle itself is an amorphous system that will pass that on to the brigade HQ, the battle group HQ. The primary site at the very top works independently from the turret. So the commander controls the primary site and the gunner controls the turret. So you essentially have a dual camera system along with your driver as well, so a triple camera system. And as you can all collect information independently and gather that to make a single assessment and pass that on. With this vehicle, you are the forward sensory system, allowing the commander to make faster, better informed decisions. So our role as armoured reconnaissance particularly is developing, and with this vehicle, the massive step up that it is from the last 30mm variants.
And you enjoying it?
Yeah, this vehicle, I mean, as I said, from 30mm, it's almost like playing a video game.
So we can see that the vehicle programme has had a checkered background. But so have other vehicles the Army has used. Look at the Churchill tank in World War II, a vehicle that initial models came with a manual literally saying, we know the vehicle has problems, but it goes on to see an amazing service in the rest of the war. We're still making up our minds about that Ajax family. There's still progress to come. There's more things that are going to be put together on this vehicle that we'll be seeing in the future. We will return to this story. But one of those areas that is so obvious, if you're working in a museum like this, we're surrounded by the modern British Army, can we please remember as well, we're at a point in our history where these vehicles are going to be needed fairly soon by the young men and the young women that are going to be defending our liberties, our freedoms, and our futures. So we really do need to get this right and get a move on.